Okay, so after the first 2 games, some unspecified amount of time passes. Shulk has a kid, and Rex has a kid, with Pyra, Mithra, and Nia. Melia is still the queen of her world, and Nia has become the queen of hers. And for whatever reason, the 2 separate worlds are now trying to combine with each other, and if they do that, they'll just sort of disappear into nothing. Melia and Nia are able to get into contact with each other and each build half of a massive machine called Origin. Origin is supposed to contain all of their society's knowledge and their citizens' literal souls, and after the worlds combine, Origin would reconstruct the worlds. The core crystal for Ontos is used in the construction. The worlds combine as planned, but the collective desire of humanity for safety and security manifests as a being known as Zed. Zed hijacks Origin and stops the separation and reconstruction of the old worlds and instead creates a new world. Melia is captured and put to sleep inside of Origin, but before that she was able to create the Sword of the End, a weapon capable of harming Zed, and gave it to a Napon called Riku. Nia was able to escape and using her core crystal created the Ouroboros stones to combat Zed and his consuls. She and Poppy escaped to the Cloud Keep and Nia also went to sleep. In the Queen's absence, Zed creates robots of the Queens to act as figureheads of the new nations of Kevis and Agnes. Using the souls inside of Origin, Zed created a system where a person would be born with a 10-year life limit. When a person is born, their life will be tied to a flame clock, and if that flame runs out, they would die. To add more time to their life, they could kill others and steal their life. If they were killed in a battle, the person would be reborn without their memories of their past life and repeat the process. For whatever reason, if they make it the full 10 years without dying, then their lives are lost from the reincarnation process. To keep this cycle going, Zed pits the 2 nations against each other in a fake war. To oversee the war, Zed and the other original consuls X and Y allow some of the people to become consuls, offering them eternal life. They also gain the power to turn to larger forms called Moebius. The war goes on for some unknown amount of time, and eventually some soldiers escape the war and fight back against the consuls. They create a city and make new life outside of the cycle of reincarnation. One of these soldiers, Noah, escaped the cycle multiple times. He'd always find a way to meet with another soldier named Mio, and the 2 would fall in love. This happens multiple times, and in one instance they eventually have a kid named Gondor. At the end of one of Noah's lives, Zed shows Noah all of his past lives and how pointless his struggle is. Zed offers to bring back Mio as well so that Noah and she can live forever if they agree to work for him. Noah agrees and becomes the consul N. At some point during all of this, Ontos reemerges to retake control of Origin. When Klaus died, Alvos returned to his core crystal and lost the personality he forged during his time with Shulk. And now without Logos or Numa to influence him, he was reawakened with no personality. He donned the new name Alpha and decided that all of the old life from the other worlds was unnecessary, so he sought to destroy the world and save only those born after its creation. Shulk and Rex reawaken from Origin and team up with Zed in order to stop Alpha. They're defeated and agree to a ceasefire between the 2 groups until Alpha is dealt with. Meanwhile, Noah and Mio's child has grown into an old man and has his own family. He trains his grandchildren Matthew and Niall in Ouroboros arts. Niall also helps care for the city's children and cares for them deeply. After the first city was established, a small group from the city went out to create a second city. That group is attacked by a group of soldiers seeking to steal their supplies. Niall takes her revenge on the soldiers and is overwhelmed by the loss, feeling that the lives of the soldiers aren't worth saving. Alpha, seeking more power, looks for an avatar to help him manifest in the world. Niall finds his core crystal and she becomes his avatar. Meanwhile, Zed tasks N with destroying the city, and in exchange he'll revive Mio. At the time of the attack, Niall, possessed by Alpha, tries to bring as many of the residents as she can to Origin. N and Niall fight, but Gondor arrives and intervenes in the fight. Matthew arrives just in time to see N stab Gondor. Using the last of his power, Gondor tries to break Alpha's hold over Niall. He's unsuccessful, but due to the attack, Alpha's consciousness separates from him and takes a form known as A. The rest of the city is destroyed, and Mio revives as Consul M, but unlike N, she wasn't necessarily happy to be brought back. Assuming that A is just somebody from the city, Matthew and she travel together to look for city survivors in Niall. The 2 eventually meet Shulk's son Nikol and Rex's daughter Glimmer. The 2 are soldiers on opposing sides, and Matthew breaks up the fight between them and gifts them with Ouroboros power. A breaks their flame clocks and the 2 are freed from them. 2 consuls show up and Matthew and A defeat them. Glimmer escapes the group looking for a colony of her own nation and is found by Shulk and his group of liberators. She escapes again and tries to negotiate with a consul, but due to her being removed from the cycle, he tries to kill her. Matthew and his group arrive in time to help fight the consul with Shulk and his group. Rex arrives, and the three are able to take down the consul. Back at the Liberator's base, they receive a report about the remains of a group of city survivors. Among the remains is Niall's bracelet. The group heads off to where the bracelet was found. Niall, still possessed by Alpha, makes an appearance. Matthew is relieved to see her, but the rest of the group tells him they have to fight her. N shows up and also fight, and due to his heightened emotions, Matthew's Ouroboros power increases. Shulk, Rex, and A explain that even though the consuls are bad, Alpha is worse, and they need to deal with him first. Back at their base camp, Matthew, Nikol, and Glimmer are given the whole backstory about the entire history of the world. The group decides to head to Origin to stop Alpha. Nikol and Glimmer want to help, but Shulk and Rex don't think they're strong enough. Riku explains that the Ouroboros power they have could be improved with some sort of trigger. Shulk and Rex fight Nikol and Glimmer to strengthen their Ouroboros power. And it works! The group heads towards Origin, and N shows up to try to kill Matthew, thinking he's the only thing tying Niall to this world. He's defeated, and Alpha shoots him with a bolt of lightning. The group is taken up into Origin, and they are shown a memory of the world before it split into two. They find Niall, and after Matthew talks to her, she agrees that maybe destroying everybody isn't the right thing to do. But Alpha takes control of her and fights the group. N arrives and helps the group fight off Alpha. Niall is freed, and N combines the power of his Sword of the End with Matthew's Gauntlet, which had Numa's core crystal inside of it, which allows Matthew's group to fuse into one large being in a process called interlinking. They defeat Alpha, and Rex and Shulk reveal that without Alpha, Origin needs a new host to help keep the new world stable. Rex and Shulk give Glimmer and Nikol the rest of their lives to allow them to live past their 10-year life limit. Rex, Shulk, and A fade away and take Alpha's place in Origin. Origin sinks into the ocean in the center of the continent and brings up a storm around it. The rest of the group founds a new city, and Nikol and Riku work to improve the Ouroboros stones. But they don't manage to defeat Zed in their lifetime, so an unspecified amount of time passes between the events of Future Redeemed and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And now it's time for some backstories. An incarnation of Noah is reborn along with his comrades Lanz, Eunie, and Yorin. The group grows and trains together on the Kavesi side of the world. Eventually, Riku gifts Noah with the Sword of the End, but they call it Lucky 7. During a battle, Yorin saves Lanz's life and is crushed by debris in the process. The rest of the group is about to eat it, but then Silvercoat Ethel arrives and saves them. Unbeknownst to the group, Yorin becomes a consul. Other than that trauma, one of Eunie's past lives was killed by a Moebius, and deep down she remembers it, kind of. As he grows, Noah continually questions the nature of their world. After seeing Chris play during a homecoming ceremony, Noah learns how to be an Offseer, one who sends off the deceased by playing their little flute. Meanwhile, Mio has also been reborn. During her training, she is paired with Miyabi, and the two become Offseers. They also partner up with Sena, who's a girl that lacks confidence. One day, the three are sent to an experimental colony led by Consul Y. During a massive gas leak, Miyabi saves Sena and Mio, and she supposedly dies. And then there's Taion, who's a tactician. One time in the past, he made a plan that cost his mentor Nimue their life, so he's traumatized by that. Eventually, Taion, Mio, and Sena all end up on a team together, and they get a little friend Banana. Noah's group and Mio's group all make it towards the end of their 10-year lives, with Mio being months away from her end when they all receive the same special mission. A ship from the city is transporting an Ouroboros stone, and teams from Kevis and Agnes are sent to intercept it. Noah and Mio's teams each meet each other and they try to kill each other, but the ship's leader Guernica stops them. A Moebius consisting of Yorin and another consul show up. They kill Noah and Mio's squad members. Guernica activates the Ouroboros stones and grants the group Ouroboros power. Noah and Mio interlink and fend off the Moebius. As Guernica dies, he tasks the group with heading to the city and stopping Moebius. The squads decide to stop fighting, but they just want to go home. But due to the Moebius, all of their former allies just attack them on sight. The two squads retreat back to each other and agree to travel together to the city, but all they know is its general location. They make their way south and pass Ethel's colony. Noah tries to reason with her, but she only sees them as monsters due to the consul nearby. The consul turns into his Moebius form and starts absorbing the lives of the nearby soldiers. Lanz and Sena interlink along with Eunie and Taion. Noah uses Lucky 7 to break the flame clock and frees the colony from it. The consul dies and the group learns that the consuls are humans under their masks. Ethel thanks the group and they continue onward towards the city. Eventually they get close to Colony Lambda, Taion's old colony. Yorin, now Consul J, uses puppets of the soldiers to attack the group. The group unlocks alternate forms of their interlink and are able to defeat the puppets and break the colony's flame clock. Jay reveals himself and after a bit of taunting, he leaves. At Kevis Castle, Ethel has been summoned by the consuls to team up with her Agni and nemesis Kamaravi in order to take down Noah's group. The consuls reveal a weapon of mass destruction and threaten Ethel's colony with it. The group continues onward and are intercepted by the pair, but after some fighting, Ethel and Kamaravi decide that they would rather fight each other instead, because that's what they like doing. The group fights a couple of consuls who interlink with each other. They learn that if they stay interlinked too long, they implode. The group continues onward and makes their way to Kevis Castle so that they can destroy the weapon of mass destruction. They make it to the weapon and consuls J and D show up to stop them. They interlink themselves, but the group is able to beat them and destroy the weapon. The group tries to escape but accidentally ends up in the throne room surrounded by pods of future soldiers. They find Ethel's new body and are confronted by N and the fake queen, who they discover is a robot. After a fight, people from the city invade the castle and rescue several of the soldiers in their pods. The party escapes. They eventually encounter Vandam's daughter Monica, who leads them to the city. Monica explains that the city is populated by people with normal lifespans and that the war between Kevis and Agnes is fake. Also, the group learns where babies come from. Monica tells the group that the real queens are in hiding and asks the group to rescue her daughter Gondor from prison because she knows the locations of the queens. The party tries to break Gondor out of prison, but due to another city member, Shania, betraying them, they are intercepted by the consuls N, M, and X. N and M reveal that they look like Noah and Mio, causing much confusion. M fights the group and uses her power to exchange places with Mio. Gondor is able to escape, but the group is ultimately defeated and put in jail until Mio's lifespan runs out. Mio, now in M's body, warns the city that the consuls know the location of the city thanks to Shania and that they should scram because they plan to blow it up. On the day of her homecoming ceremony, Mio's body, containing M, fades away into light. N proceeds to execute Noah. Supposedly. Mio stops the execution and reveals herself, and N goes a bit crazy. The group fights off N and X. X tries to blow up the city, but the entire city is already moved. N and X leave and Shania offs herself. Mio reveals that she and Noah are manifestations of N and M's guilt for becoming Moebius. The group heads towards the Cloud Keep, where Nia is sleeping, but before that, Mio wants to seek out her old comrade Miyabi, who is supposedly alive. The group goes to Colony Omega, where Consul Y has been reviving soldiers without their memories. The group confronts a revived Kamaravi and Miyabi and slaps Consul Y around before breaking the colony's clock. The group makes their way to Queen Nia, but D and J attack her, supposedly killing her. They fight the group, but J has a change of heart and kills himself and D. Luckily, Nia didn't die and awakens and gives the group the history of the entire world. Now knowing about Origin, the group meets with a Napon from the city, Saman, who can construct a ship that can make it through the storm surrounding Origin. While collecting material for the ship, the group encounters Noah's old Offseer instructor Chris, who is now Consul C. Noah puts him to rest and he fades away. Saman makes the ship for the group and they break into Origin with it. They confront N, and after getting beaten up again, he lets go of his grief and combines with Noah. The group rescues Melia, and she makes her way outside of Origin to attack it from the outside. The group continues onward and puts down X and Y before finally encountering Zed. The group defeats Zed, and N and M reveal themselves and put Zed away for good. With Zed defeated, the two worlds start to separate again. The group says their goodbyes to each other, and Noah and Mio give each other a little kiss. After the worlds have separated, Noah reawakens as a child in his original world. But he hears Mio's flute, which is supposed to be in the other world, so he goes off looking for her. It turns out that Origin was able to recombine the two worlds into one. So yeah, everybody lives happily ever after, and everybody's back in the new combined world, and supposedly any new life that was made in the other world will eventually make its way into the new world. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks a lot. This was a bit of a doozy, all three of these videos, and I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'm hoping to do smaller videos so I can upload more often instead of once every couple of weeks. So, I hope you stick around for those. Bye!